and get that at that point in time. So Messenger is fine. Certainly the phone number is fine. If you want to call me on Portal, if you have a Portal and you'd like to do that, I can pick that up as well and put the audio on. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to come into the program and get your questions answered or share what's going on. As you know, here it is, April the 28th, right in the throes, if you will. I don't want to say middle end, beginning of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic that's been circulating around our country. And there's a lot of discussion about various therapies and what they can do. There's just a lot of discussion about how people are going to continue their business. In Kentucky, which is where I'm broadcasting to you from today, they opened up where chiropractors, physical therapists, however that figures as far as massage and all of that is concerned, can begin operation as long as they follow particular social distancing and interaction type of things. No one in the lobby, call to come into the building, all of that type of stuff going on. Face masks, gloves, all of which is certainly appropriate. And I followed a long thread this morning where people were talking about in the equine world about the restarting of horse shows. What's a good way to start the horse activity back up, if you will, and a lot of discussion on that. I'd be happy to discuss that if someone would like to do that as well. There are plenty of good questions that I've come across on the MagnaWave certified practitioner page that I can go over with you and share with you as we go. Elaine's not with me this morning. She's off doing some other stuff. She'll be with me again later. But I want to share a story from last night. As you know, we were in Florida working that area through the winter months. And we have an RV that we travel in, the MagnaWave Express. And I was down specifically this time, spending time. I was at the Wellington showgrounds, and we have certainly practitioners at the racetracks, but I was kind of working the professional athlete side of the equation. I was with the New York Mets. I was with the New York Mets. I was with the Miami Marlins. I got the chance to meet with Don Mattingly, who I'm a fan of, who's from my hometown. I know his sister very well. Have not had a lot of opportunities over years to meet and talk with Don, but I got a chance to do that when I was in Florida. And so that was exciting. And some other clubs that we're working with in the area down there did some talking and talking further with the St. Louis Cardinals. As you know, the spring training was cut short and everybody went home, and they're talking now as to when they can get back. I think the NBA is going to start some stuff coming up here in the next week or two to begin some preliminary practicing and so forth. The soccer, we're big soccer fans here in Kentucky with the Louisville City FC, built a brand new stadium this year, and we can't go to games. And they're talking about when we might have some of our first games and activities with Louisville City FC. And of course, we work with them as well with our devices. So we're always interested in that. But so we had some friends that we were quarantined with in Florida, who left Florida going back to New Jersey, and they couldn't go home because they rented their home through the winter to some friends who were building a home. So they rented their home to some of their friends who were finishing a home because they were going to be in Florida, and we were at the same RV resort in Florida. At any rate, so they were going home. Well, they didn't go home. They came to Georgetown, Kentucky, which is right down by Lexington, Kentucky. And we had the opportunity to visit with them. And so last night we had a social distancing activities with them, had a fire and sat out in the yard and had great conversation with our friends, Mark and Beth Ann Elias. So at any rate, through the evening, we got to talking about some issues that Mark has had over the years, and he does not sleep well and struggles with the sleep. He's got back problems and some other nerve-related issues in his arms. And I said, well, let me show you. He was asking about what we do and how this works. And so I told him, I said, well, let's go in. We'll go into into my office, which is in a den room of the home, which is where I am now. And let me treat your back and show you what this does. And so I treated his neck and shoulders, his wrist and thumb that was having an issue, and his low back, probably for a total of 20 minutes. I was using the Maya Dual, but it doesn't make any difference. Any machine we have in the line will be satisfactory for doing a human type of treatment like this. So I treated him for about 20 to 30 minutes. And just 10 minutes ago, before I got ready to come to you live this morning, Mark calls me, and of course he said we had a great time last night, and thanks, and it was fun. And then he said, but I have to tell you something else. And I said, well, what's that? He said, I slept through the night for the first time in forever. I went to bed. I got up and it was 8:30. I couldn't believe I was able to sleep that long, and woke up with not a lot of pain. And it's one of these situations that if he sits in a chair to watch television in the evening, or a lounge type chair, he falls asleep, and then they decide, well, let's go to bed. He goes to bed. He's lying flat. Changes the whole dynamic. Wakes up in the morning sore neck, cricks. His back is killing him. He can't, it just takes him a while to get going. And he said, today was the first time in forever that I slept all the way through the night and I got up feeling good. And I told him, I said, I'm so happy about that. And that's exciting. And I told him last night, I said, we never know. I use the term a lot of times, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, someone will notice something immediately. Last night, he noticed in his hand, with his thumb, I treated his thumb and wrist and his elbow area, and of course his upper neck. My thumb, as I've described, comes from here quite often. When I'm tense here, my thumb is worse. And there's arthritis in this as well. But when I feel my tension back here in my neck, it comes down into my thumb, and I have it the most. So I treated his neck, same type of deal, and he had better movement, less tenderness to his wrist and hand last night after just a 20-minute treatment. Never been treated before. And so that was exciting. It's exciting for me to have somebody who feels better after experiencing our wonderful therapy and seeing what it can do to help people live healthier and happier lives. As you know, we're not changing anything. We're just setting it up so perhaps their body can better deal with the inflammation and the blood flow and all of that kind of situation that we deal with. So if you want to talk to me, 502-599-9722. If you'd like to call me on Messenger, if you'd like to join me on Castbox, Chris can potentially put the link up in Castbox. Chris, I was also thinking if you put I don't know if we want to do this, but maybe we do. It might be a great thing to try. Put the Castbox link in the stream. And if somebody wanted to click that link and come in, they could come in live with me on Castbox. That's interesting. I don't know. What do you think? Up, down? Who cares? Okay, there you go. Put the link in there, and let's see somebody like to follow the link and come and check in and visit with me on the screen live on Castbox if you have a conversation that you might have. I understand I have a practitioner who's going to call at some time during the program and talk about their conversion of their practice from animals to humans, from horses to the human side. And interestingly enough, I'm a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was listening to one of his podcasts. Actually, it was a live broadcast this morning at 9:00 because we weren't with you this morning at 9:00 because we're going to be here with you now at noon. And I was watching Gary, and he was talking about various aspects and how people are going to change their business and the business model coming out of this. The conversation that I was following on Facebook this morning, talking about the restarting of shows and what they should do if somebody gets sick, if you're traveling and all that, which we can go into the whole thing at some point. But Gary's very succinct thing this morning was, it's a media. The person that controls the media or the person that is, we all are going to become media companies, individual little media companies. Your involvement on your Facebook, your involvement with LinkedIn, your involvement with TikTok, with Instagram, all of these different platforms that are available, your involvement there will be very important for your customers and your potential customers to join you, see your authority, understand what you're doing, and be able to relate to you, whether you are going to them, providing a treatment, whether they're coming to you to rent a machine to treat themselves or to treat their animals and then switch that back out. The whole model that may change. I was telling my wife this morning, I was listening to this, and she came in when we were sitting there, and I said, Debbie, do you remember, when was this? Back in 73, probably the fall of 73. And I was in mortuary school at the time. A lot of you don't know my past as a funeral director and owner of funeral homes, but I was, and we were in mortuary school, and I was a waiter at a local restaurant in Indianapolis. And I also decided I'm going to sell Fuller Brush products door to door. As I was in school at that time. And I remember distinctly, I got my little kit, my Fuller Brush kit, and I was all ready to go. And I had Debbie take me down to we had a Schnucks market, or maybe it might have been a Marsh, I don't remember, but had a market on the corner about a mile from our home. I went down and there were subdivisions around all four corners. And she took me down there and I got out of the car and I had my little thing and I was ready to go. And I stood on that corner for 2.5 hours waiting for Debbie to come back and pick me up. I could not walk across the street, walk into a neighborhood, and knock on a door. I was petrified. Now, I'm a guy that's been a musician, done a lot of things as a young person, very active in my college. I could not walk across the street and knock on a door, say, hey, I'm selling Fuller Brushes or whatever we were selling in the kits at that point in time. I was embarrassed. Not only was I embarrassed that I couldn't do it, but I was embarrassed to go for someone to tell me no. And I knew that's what was going to happen, is someone was going to tell me no. And so I told her that this morning. We both got a big laugh, because I've often shared that years later when we started MagnaWave and I got involved with PEMF back in 2002, that I called her one day. I was on the road and I found myself in Ocala, Florida, going from barn to barn to barn, basically cold calling, door-to-door selling. Communicating with the people at that point in time, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. The difference, I believed in what I was doing. I had the authenticity that I knew what I was doing. I enjoyed it. I believed it, and I could convey that. People could see that in my manner. So when I realized that I was basically doing door-to-door work, but I was confident, made all the difference in the world. And so I'm sure we'll discuss that when this young lady calls, but that's the difference that's going on today. I can tell you countless times over the years in my personal business experience, now stretching back some 45 years or so, in different businesses and that I bought and sold and started and stopped and failed at and miserably, and those types of situations. So I feel that I can discuss a lot of that with you if you had specific questions about that. But today is no different. Today there is a change, and we have to pivot. We have to go off in a different direction. That's whether you are a client or a provider. If someone is providing therapy, then they have to change their. We had big plans. We still do have big plans to open up the front of our building as a clinic. How we do that today and when we can do that is a different plan than it was 45 days ago. And with regard to, can people come into the building? Do they have to wear gloves? We're going to have masks. Do we have to take their temperature? Got to keep them separated in the building. We got a pretty neat setup. We could have 2-3 people in there in 2 or 3 different rooms, totally separated at the same time. I do have somebody call in that we can be able to talk with. Let me bring them up here, and I'll make that call here. And this is Ashley. That's who wants to talk with us. So I'll call Ashley in just 1 second. But that's the process. And so it's all changing. And if you're afraid of this, and if you are, whether you're a client or you're going to go back to your hairdresser, you're going to go back to your chiropractor, where do you feel comfortable stepping out to go back to receive the services that you're familiar with? Some of the services you may never go back to. You may decide I'm going to do it at home or I'm going to do it differently. Other services you're ready to go back to. My wife's physical therapist, they opened this stuff today, and she's at her physical therapist right now, and just turned out she had an appointment for today in months ago. And so here we are. She was able to go today. And so she's very excited about that. And I'm excited because she always feels good when she comes home from her massage and physical therapy treatments with Harry, and Harry is a MagnaWave user. And I need to get him on a program one of these days as well, because he uses the therapy in addition to his physical aspects of his therapy and his massage procedures that he uses in his practice. So I could just talk about that for hours, but if you have questions, please put them in the box, and I'll be happy to talk to them, and I will do that. Let's get Ashley on the phone. Let's bring her in here. Voice call. Let's put the speaker on.
Hello, this is Ashley.
Hey, Ashley, Pat Zima.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Busy, but we're doing well.
That's great. That's a good thing. We all like it.
Right. Yeah. So, Aaron had asked if I could call in and just chat with you and share with everybody my experiences from animals to human clientele, or vice versa, I guess.
Love to have that conversation. Please share with me what you're doing.
Okay, so I purchased my Julian last year, July of last year, not with the intention of working on people. That was not, the intention was to work on my horse who had torn a suspensory ligament. And I treated him, worked on him every day, twice a day, and in 8 weeks I had him back running again. Had him checked out by 2 different vets. They both couldn't find any more tears. Found that they said the tissue looked good, healthy, everything was good. So that was probably the first phenomenal injury recovery experience that we had. When we first got the machine, we just worked on ourselves. I was still going through the certification and learning about how to use the machine, intensity levels, time, how to apply, all of those things.
Key words that you just said there is you worked on yourselves. You really learned the process working on yourself. You got to do that. Yeah, that has to happen.
Yes, we started mainly on ourselves and our own animals, and we're. I guess we didn't realize at the beginning what the detox reaction could be like, and my husband and I both had a couple of really severe detox reactions. I say severe, like I was very nauseous. It was very much like a flu for 15 to 20 hours. But it wasn't the flu. It was like a detox. My body said, hey, I had a bunch of junk in it and we just released it. And this is how it's got to come out. Right. And so now that we've both experienced that, we stick by water. And I tell all my people, even if I only put it on them for 5 minutes, drink a ton of water. If there's anything you do, drink water. I also encourage any vitamin supplementation as far as magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sodium, and not large amounts of sodium, but those are the micronutrients that our body is utilizing during the therapy. So but a lot of people are not super keen on taking supplements or taking vitamins, so at least that's what I found. So I just encourage the water if there's anything that they can do to avoid a severe detox.
Well, something else that you might be able to think about there is, you're correct. A lot of people, oh my God, they're going to tell me to take all these different vitamins. What strength do I take? What do I need to do? If someone is unfamiliar with that and they're leery of stepping down that road, get them on a good multivitamin. I mean, it's there. It may not be the quantities that we would go with, but it is a start.
Exactly. Yes, and I'm probably summarizing some of this as well. Where yes, I'll tell them, hey, if you have a multivitamin, a Centrum Meds, exactly, or just something like that, and with some food and then water. Exactly. But yes, you're exactly right. So backing up, yes, we just worked on ourselves. My husband had tendonitis. Like, the day before our machine arrived, he said, I have to go to the ER. My hand is killing me. It's been killing me for months. Like, I can't handle it anymore. And I said, hey, go to the ER. Go do that. Go find out what's wrong. Well, he didn't. And the machine arrived that next day, and he immediately put it on, and we just worked his arm down to his wrist. So I think I figurated the large loop up around his shoulder, and then I put I had the Julian machine, and I split and put the small butterfly over his wrist.
Correct. Perfect.
And we did that twice a day. He did that morning and night, and he probably did 10 to 20 sessions like that. Again, we weren't hitting him hard. We were still learning, so we were probably a pretty low intensity for 20 minutes.
Perfect.
And yeah, 10 to 15 sessions, he was like, I have no pain in my wrist. Now, I wouldn't say he probably had, let me back up. He probably said that the second or third session, where he was like, yeah, I'm actually feeling a lot better in my wrist, where 10 to 15 later, it was like, I have no pain. I'm working, my husband works on irrigation sprinklers, so the center pivot large circles.
Right.
So he's got doing a lot of lifting, a lot of screwing. He's screwing and wiring panels and all of that kind of stuff. So a lot of wrist movement. And then sitting at the computer and invoicing and all of that sort of stuff. So, so that was where we started. I didn't have any. Oh, I'm sorry. I did have personal issues, woman related. I was having vaginal infections after having my child at home, and I couldn't figure out why. I'd go to the doctor. They'd say, "Oh, you just have an infection. Here's antibiotics." Well, I'm still in pain. I'm still having recurring infections. What's going on? They find out that I have a small cyst, a Nabothian cyst. It's not cancerous. It's just a growth, if you will. That's just a fluid-filled packet on the cervix, and that was causing me a lot of pain, discomfort, and inflamed abdomen. So 10 minutes twice a day for like 2 days, and my abdomen felt wonderful. I have not had an infection since last year.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So yes. So backing up. So going to how we transitioned to people. We worked on ourselves. Worked on obviously my horses. I have several dogs. I run a dog breeding business, so I've also got a lot of dogs to work on. And so we were just utilizing the machine on all of our animals. I would then take the machine with me to barrel races. And I would just say, hey, I would ask a friend, hey, can we work on your horse? I wasn't charging right at the beginning. I was more just like, can I throw it on your horse and see what you think? And so I guess I would say I was doing a lot of demo. I wasn't doing whole long sessions, but I would do short sessions. I might focus if somebody had an injury to a back leg. I might focus on just the hip, just the stifle, and the hock, and that whole back end.
Right.
And they would see a huge difference. One gal cut half a second off her time, which in barrel racing, that's a whole D, and that's a big deal. So she was like, all right, I believe you. I get it. And so then I would ask her, hey, do you have anything ailing you, or any issues, any pain in your body? And she might say, yeah, my shoulders, I get a lot of tension, or I get a lot low back pain. And so I would then do a little 10 to 15 minute demo on her. I might do 7 minutes on her shoulders and 7 minutes on her low back. And that was kind of how I started at horse shows. Then I had a Facebook page, started building the actual business, and I shared one of Karen Ainsworth's her testimonials about Parkinson's, and in our community, and somebody saw it, and they told a Parkinson's an individual who's afflicted with Parkinson's about PEMF, and he contacted me, and actually that was what started the office setting. Was he came in, and he was coming in twice a week. I just would lay him on my mat, and we would work on it. I'd split it and put it on his feet, and that was how we started with him. And in the first session, it was night and day for him. His speech became clearer. His head was clearer. He was walking better. He was less stiff. And he just was less stiff on the overall. His Parkinson's wasn't as severe as some. And so he then, of course, told probably 25 people. And so then I just kept getting calls. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you work on this? I made a little notepad here. We also, in our community, we're in Delhart, Texas, so pretty rural, population of like 8,500. So not a large city. And so I guess I was a little concerned with how I was going to reach everybody. But we also have a women's professional group in our community, and that's probably 40 or 50 women come to that without COVID going on, once a week. And so all the women in there can share what businesses they're doing and give a 5 to 10 minute presentation about that. And I also did that. I reached out to just people in my community via Facebook, or I sent out mass texts to friends that I was comfortable like saying, hey, can you have a horse? Can we try this on your horse? I also offered specials at the beginning. If you bought, if you paid for a package, or let me put it this way, first session free if you purchase a package. And my packages for horses are a package of 3, 5, or 10 sessions. And so that would get them going on, oh my gosh, I saw a difference in one session, so I'm glad she gets to come back for 3 more, kind of thing. And I guess that's really how it got going. And I posted a lot on Facebook, and I just tried to work on everybody and talk to anybody that I came in contact with.
You basically became your own little broadcast station.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that is the key. And you had something going that when someone would talk with you, you believed, you understood. You could share your husband's example. You could share the examples of your first few clients, what they saw, what they experienced, which I did at the beginning of the program about a friend that I treated last night.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Question for you with your women's group, something you might reach out to. Is the women's group meeting through Zoom or through any other type of platform at this point?
Not currently.
I would, if you have a way to communicate with them, that is a way that you, and anybody can do this in any community. If you've got a professional group of friends, and start a women's group, or start whatever, a health group, a hacking health group in your community, and come together on Zoom, or come together on the new Facebook platform, Facebook, what do they call it? Message, what do they call it? Facebook, I forget. Anyway, that's just now launching, and have a meeting virtually.
Right. Yes, I agree.
And so there'll be ways, and I was just thinking about that. You're going to have people that maybe have been coming to you that now, with all of this going on, may be afraid to come to you. However, you could very easily, if in a small community like you're in, you could very easily make an appointment with someone through Facebook. You can do that on Facebook or other platforms to make appointments. You could drive to their home, take the machine to their door, let them treat themselves, tell them how to do it, of course, and get in your car and do your texting business while they're treating themselves, pick up the machine and leave, clean it up, go to the next person. So there's a lot of things you can do in this environment to improve and change what you're doing.
Yes. And also our gym in our community is, my brother works at our gym, and he was kind of a skeptic of PMF, but now he is at my house, if not every day, every couple of days during the week to get a session. And he now promotes it at the gym. And so I have also gained a lot of clientele by just advertising at the gym. The gym owners, I asked them, hey, can I give y'all a session? And they were like, yeah, sure. I've got this issue with my shoulder, what have you. So I got in with the gym owners, and now they are all about, they share with anybody that comes in, when their nutrition shop, they talk about PMF. They let me put flyers out. I have stuff on their table as far as marketing information. And so the gym was another big area for me as well in the community. And I feel like gyms could be a big community,
huge.
Yes,
so
for a lot of people.
Your gyms were able to stay open?
No. But this was prior to.
Okay. Okay.
And even now, actually, the gym in this community has a nutrition shop, and so she technically is not supposed to be having people walk in, but some people do. And I happen to be in there dropping off the machine because her and her husband rent it, and so I was dropping the machine off, and she said, hey, you really need to put this on my friend. She's got bulging discs in her back, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, I chatted with her about where she'd been. Has she been traveling? Have you been sick? Just questioned her. And everything was good. I did a little session there in the gym yesterday, and now she's going to rent a machine tomorrow.
There you go.
So yeah, right. So the gym is I think gym is a great place to start. Those people are generally maybe even healthier than others. And so you're not going to have the risk of running higher detox reactions with those clientele as opposed to like some clientele that I see that are diabetic or that are just not as healthy on the regular. So, and that's just a very blanket statement from me. So, but that was a big spot for us as well.
Well, that's great. And that sharing that there, and of course now in Kentucky, we're just starting to open up, and gyms are not open yet, but chiropractors are, and that whole thing. And that's another area that if for example, in Kentucky, or when that happens in Texas, or where anyone is, there's a whole new world today on your chiropractors maybe being willing to more openly work with you, to whether it's on a referral basis or it's on a basis that you can go to their clinic one day a week, or whatever the situation may be, because they're going to be looking for more aspects. Recovery is going to be hard, and recovery is going to take a lot of creativity. And so the creativity, acceptance of creativity and new thoughts may be more readily accepted at this time.
Yes, yes. And on the note of chiropractors, I utilize a chiropractor in Amarillo. Actually, there is one here in Dalhart, and I've used him as well. But I haven't had enough time to spend with him, showing him the machine, and then everything with COVID happened. But at the end of the chiropractor in Amarillo, he had told me that he had a PMF mat, and I said, "Oh, well, what?" I inquired as far as what brand and everything. He has a Beamer mat. And I told him the difference in low intensity versus high intensity. And I asked him how often he used it. He said, honestly, that I used it really well at the beginning, and then it's sitting in the closet.
And I was like, a quick response. You don't see something immediately.
And that's what I told him. I said that it's a great modality if you're going to use it every day, if not twice a day. And so we talked about me coming into his office with some of my higher powered devices and working on some of his clientele, doing like 15 to 20 minute session prior to the adjustment, and then another short session right after the adjustment. Again, we never got to that point because then COVID happened, but right. But he was more than willing, and really, I think just going in and trying it on the chiropractor, on the individual themselves is really the tactic I take to begin with. Hey, can I try this on you? Are you willing? And I explain it to them, obviously, what's going on, and what the modality is, and what PMF is doing within the body. And then I say, are you willing to try it? Of course, no metal, no implanted devices, they're not pregnant, etc. But that's usually the tactic I take, is try the owner or the officiate, and then go from there.
Great. Well, I appreciate it. That's great information that you've shared, and really, that's what it takes. I mean, you simply went out, and I have to come back to this, is you're capitalizing on the platforms that are available to you, and you're reaching out to people in that respect, and that's where it's at, and you've done a great job, and thank you for calling in and talking with me.
Yes. Yeah. I guess one more thing, Pat, we had talked last week about renting and pricing and all of that. And I know that pricing is a question I see a lot throughout the practitioner groups, and folks are just inquiring, and what does everybody else charge? And I think for me, I've probably not charged as much as I could. I'll admit that. But I also believe that there's a huge price increase that can happen once I get established to where these people are like, there's no, a massage may cost $80. Well, they know the benefits of the massage because PMF is somewhat new to a lot of these people. A lot of them are not willing to go out and spend $80 for that first session. At least that's what I have found. And that may not be everywhere, but in this community, that's what I have found. So I've started lower, and then I give discounts on a package basis. And I find that, I was finding that before COVID happened, I was like, I'm going to have to raise my prices because I'm way too busy. So I guess my advice there is to find a starting ground that works for your community, that gets people interested but doesn't blow them out of the water.
Exactly.
And then you can always go up from there. And that's kind of the point where I was at. If I got my baseline clientele lined out, everybody was happy. They were happy to pay that, and they were happy with the results. Then when I said 2 months later, hey, I'm bumping my prices up $20, they weren't going to balk at that. Per session. So that's the best. I guess that's the best advice I can say. And but of course, don't undersell yourself either. That it is important to assess your time involved, because I allot an hour to everybody. It may not be an hour worth of session time or treatment time, but I have to allot an hour. By the time you talk and discuss and go over everything and talk to them about what they're feeling and where do you feel that, and let's work on this now, or we might adjust our treatment time, like, oh, your hand is bothering you, you didn't tell me that when you walked in, so let's spend 5 more minutes on that area as well. So I guess I just looked at it from an hourly basis as well.
And let me give you something there, or not to you. I mean, you're on your game and you're moving, but a thought. My whole process now is trying to help people how we can deal with the change and the pivot with the COVID situation. And you just said something that I think could be very beneficial to those who are trying to find a way to deal with folks that will not come to you, or that you have to go to and leave your machine or rent a machine to them, or whatever the situation may be. And that is that some of that communication can take place on the phone with the new Facebook messaging, or with FaceTime. FaceTime's incredible. A lot of people have that availability. So you could talk to them. You could be in an environment that you could show them. Here's the key. People need to know that you want to know what their pain is. And if you take the time to understand their pain and how you're going to maybe help them relieve their pain or change their pain threshold, or whatever that situation may be, they're going to believe in what you're doing. And so a lot of that could take place. You could spend the morning talking to 3 or 4 different people for a half hour each, and then take your machine to them for a half hour each in the afternoon, or take a machine to 3, drop it off at 3 people, take another machine to 3 people, and have a lot of things going on, and do a lot of your communication on the phone with FaceTime or some other medium prior, because they don't want you to come into their house.
Right.
Or you're not able to go into their house, but you can go into their life, just as we're talking right now, and have this conversation and demonstrate and show, even turn the machine on and let them listen to it. Here's the sound you want to begin. This is the level you want, or whatever. Any number of ways of doing that, depending on the device that you have. Great thought, and I just wanted to throw that in.
Yes, I like that idea, and actually with my rental clients, we'll do some of that. I might take a video, depending on the individual. If I go into a home and they want to work on their dog, I find that to be somewhat hard over the phone. Not that it's not possible, but sometimes I have to show them, hey, this is how you put it on the dog, and you don't need to go up real high with him. Just let him kind of ease into it. Now that we're talking about it, though, I feel like I probably could have done some of that over a Zoom call or Skype or something. I just feel like with the animals, that sometimes there's some liability there with your machine, that you don't want the animal to take off with the coil on them.
Right. But again, this is a wonderful conversation from that perspective. Yes, you could do that live on the phone with them right now, or you could get on the phone with them, ask them what their pain is. You can do that without a picture. You can be on the phone. What's your pain? What are you doing? And this and that. I'm tell you what, Mary, I'm going to send you a video right now that shows you how to treat your dog, shows you how to treat your shoulder or your low back or your feet for neuropathy, or your husband. I'm going to send you that video. Now, there's 2 ways to do that. We have a lot of those videos, and we'll produce, maybe, Chris, we need to take this a step further on the number of videos that we have in that regard. And we've got hundreds of videos. But the other thing is, if you can do those videos yourself, if we can create the template for you, that you're the presenter, that just further accentuates your authority, your capability, what they believe in with you. So some people will not be able to be on camera, but if they can do it at all in some fashion, or even just have the intro, and here's the video that Aaron did, and here it is, and then they watch it. And so, again, I love this conversation and what people can learn from what we can share and have together, because we create new thoughts as we're going.
Right. Yeah. Especially in machine handling and cleaning and an attachment change. That's one thing I stress to people. You've got to turn the machine off. Don't unhook it until it's off.
Right.
And so, yes, but you're exactly right. And that's one thing with my brother we talked about at the gym. He's actually, I gave him one of my certifications so that he could start doing that. Right. So he could then take one of my machines to the gym and work on clientele at the gym when they're back open. And that was one thing we had discussed. We want to be the faces of our business. Of Rewarding Waves is my business. And so I want him to be a face as well. So he and I are both going to make these videos because I don't see rental options stopping, even with going back into office. I feel like rental options are a great option for individuals that have chronic issues, Parkinson's, arthritis, diabetes, whatever. I mean, the list goes on, but that can stay at home and work on themselves multiple times a day versus coming to you multiple times a day.
I'm gonna tell you what, and you're exactly right. It's my feeling that in a few years or a few months, it's just going to, because the restaurant business, if you're in the restaurant business today and you're not trying to figure out how to capitalize on takeouts or capitalize on catering, these type, or capitalize on recipes that you can create for people to come pick up and go home and cook later. If you're in a restaurant business that thinks that everybody's going to come back to my restaurant, sit down in my restaurant again, you're dreaming for a period of time. And it may come back, and I hope it does, because I like going to restaurants. But if you're in that business and you're not expanding your horizon to figure out different ways of doing it, you're missing the boat. And it's the same thing in auto dealers. They're bringing cars to you to get repaired and picking up your car and doing all this kind of stuff. Everything's that way, and we have to adapt the same way and figure that out. And you're doing a good job of it. We have several people that are doing that. Marines with us that's had very good success in building that type of thing, and that's where it's at. I really feel that in a period of time, we're going to sit back and say, yeah, we used to go out and do treatments all the time, but now we got a bunch of experts teaching people how to do treatments at home, and they're supplying them with the capability of doing that. That could very well be the picture that we see in time to come.
I agree. And I would love to hear if anybody else calls in and chats about what they're doing too. I've seen a lot of other practitioners doing, I think by the wave, she's got porch side and bark lot. That's pretty cute. So I would be really interested to hear what other practitioners are doing as well, if they have time to chat with you.
Think about that. What you just said. I love it. I know I got other questions I want to get to and talk to other people, but what you just said, think about the capabilities that you have with batteries and a device that you could go to a park and be outside, that someone would be comfortable coming, sitting 10 foot away from you and letting you treat them in a public setting of some sort, or outside your home or outside their home. They won't want you to come in, but I'll come out and sit in the yard chair, or I'll come outside and talk with you. And the potential is amazing.
Yes.
To be able to learn to deal with what we have to do today. In 2008, when the mortgage crisis hit, and I was in the horse business, traveling around to horse shows, and I was at Wellington and these different places, and I thought, holy crap, I'm done. The market's going away. We're going into a recession. I'm finished. And yes, we lost a big slice of our business, but a lot of people stayed, and we had to figure out how to do it. One of the ways we did it was renting machines.
Yes,
it just got people in easier. And yes. So it's just, we just have to learn to run down that football field and shift and pivot to miss the tackle.
Right. And I've also considered with horse clientele, the human, I've just decided the people will just send them the machines. At the moment, for me, that's just what works, because I have little ones at home. But for the horse clientele, I considered doing a demo day, where I blocked out, I feel like I've seen somebody else doing this, where I block out, let's say 7 hours in a day, and hey, Kathleen, you get 9 a.m. bring your horse, or whatever. That's not probably the wording I would use, but I have time slots, and I'm doing demos, 30-minute demos on your horses. Come and try it out, and or maybe even a demo where they bring the horse and the horse and owner demo. And I block out an hour and a half per individual, and then I give them a time, and then they show up. And maybe I have some snacks and some water, drinks, and we do their horse. We do them for 10, 20 minutes and go on the way. And I feel like that's going to bring in some new clientele as well. Some people that are interested but haven't reached out to do it. They don't really know, oh, my horse is just a trail horse, or, oh, I don't think my horse needs it.
Think about this, if I may. And I'm loving this conversation. I can't tell you this morning when I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk or watching Gary Vaynerchuk live on Facebook, he had the same kind of conversation with someone trying to start a business or do something. And one of the things that they discussed, here's something that you could do in that regard, or any other practitioner could do, because the question in the horse world, for the horse business. And the same thing would be for humans with a gym or with a chiropractor. But let's just talk horses for a minute. Everybody's wondering, how am I going to bring a show back? Are we going to travel to shows, or am I going to have small shows in my community? And that's probably the way things are going to start to open up. Small shows in the community. People can come together. They only have to drive in. They can drive right back out. So you can work with someone to have a show. Maybe you're a co-sponsor of the show. So they get to come to the show, see a trainer, see a demonstration, try out your equipment, see what they can do with it to help, see, you follow me? If I'm being clear in that, so you could form an association with some trainer. The same thing could happen with animals and agility. We're going to have a small neighborhood city agility show where everybody come to the show, they keep their distance, they do their agility, and you're there, and they can get their dogs treated for their arthritis or their problems they're having, and you're working together.
Right. Yeah, I love that idea. That's actually, gosh.
I mean, it's incredible the things that we can do when you think about it. And also, if you don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, look him up on Facebook, follow him, read his books. And the man's a genius when it comes to a lot of this kind of stuff. And it upsets me. He's much younger than I am. And I wish I could have had his kind of information when I was younger to be able to apply to various things. But still, follow him, listen to him. Go to Alexa, go look up Gary Vaynerchuk and get the daily flash briefing, and go get the MagnaWave daily flash briefing as well. Hey, thank you for calling.
I'm not sure about that.
See, Alexa's talking to me. Did you hear her? Okay. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I was talking about that Alexa, and hi, Alexa. Well, now she's not going to answer because I'm wanting her to answer. She's not going to answer me. Anyway, let's see what we got. That was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing that. There's just so much we can do there's just opportunity. You hate to say this, but we're in a troubling time and a lot of stuff going on, but you can't miss the opportunity. I keep seeing this thing in my local, I read the newspaper on my phone in the morning, and it talks about you have to eat, and you still have to eat, and you still have to live. You still have to make money. You still have to be in business. You still have to try to figure out how you're going to go to work and work all this stuff in. My God, the people, Alicia, and those of you with children, and you got to figure out how to deal with your children when you need to continue to work and your husband's doing. I mean, it's incredible what we're facing today, or what you're facing as families with children, and to be able to do this. It can happen. There are opportunities and there's ways to do it. Let's see what we got here. Having a hard time building animal clientele, and human interest is booming. Go where the interest is booming for you at this point. Don't neglect the other areas. Go where the interest is and keep doing the other areas. If the interest is booming with humans and you want to do some work with small animals, look for the human business with animals. Look for the human opportunity with horse people to treat the humans and then the horses, and it'll all come together. And I've said this a million times. I got my first horse by treating a rider. When the rider understood what I was doing, they let me treat their horses. So that's where it came from. And if you're trying to do that, demo, that's the deal. It's a tougher game today because you can't just go set up at the mall and do demos all day long because the mall's not operating in many cases. So you got to find other ways of doing it. And we've had some tremendous thoughts that were shared in that conversation, and we need to, and I'm sure Chris will put it out there. They'll split it up and put it in small bites so it can be easily digested question by question, and how to follow that. Let's see. For dogs, how long does one full body? How long in each section? I guess that's what I'm asking. I've seen a few different approaches. Just wanted to make sure I'm doing it right. Well, to do it is to do it right. But, certainly the size of the animal. If you've got a 10-pound dog that can lay on a mat or lay on a pillow with the large coil underneath it, you're going to treat the whole dog at one time. Now, If the dog's having hip problems and you want to use the butterfly, either not open or closed on top of the hip or around the hips, both hips or both shoulders on the animal. And again, there's not a big difference. People think, gee, it's a 10-pound dog, and so I treat a human for 15 minutes. I'm only going to do the dog for 5. Well, you can do that, but you can also do it for 10, or you can do it for 15. There's not a big, there is no difference, basically. It's treating the animal. The intensity is important. You don't want to bounce them off the table, but you want to make them comfortable, and you want to give them as much energy as they're comfortable. The thing about an animal is if you're treating them and it's too much intensity, they'll leave. They're not going to stay there. They're going to get up and walk away. So you'll adjust your intensity accordingly to be comfortable in those types of situations. So if it's a larger animal, you're going to do just like we do on a person. You're going to do the upper torso, the shoulders potentially first. You're going to do the back area, then the hips. Or you can use the wave wings that you'd use on a horse. Let the dog be in the middle of the wave wing and drape the other wing over the top of the dog. So now you're treating from both directions. And a larger dog, the wave wings will take care of a pretty good sized dog in one shot, and do it do it in that fashion as you go forward. Let's see here. Good. Maria writes, I've been looking into your machines, very interested. I've had one treatment. Well, you need probably 2 or 3 to really get into the thing. But if one, like the gentleman I treated last night, he was just amazed that he slept through the night. So thank you for looking. If you have questions, you can contact me right now, or you can call the office. And if I can help you, I'd be happy to. Or we have 29 very professional people in our employ that are still working, and we're very happy that we've been able to keep things going for them and to keep all of our employees going. And what I hear about our practitioners being able to find ways to keep moving forward, and that's what we want to do, is to help you move forward and keep going in that area. Hi, Elaine. Hi, everyone. Elaine says that you're with us. Tracy says hello to Elaine. Okay, let's see. Let me come back. I piggyback off. Hold on. Let me get to this point here. All right. I found that use videos from the MagnaWave that I've sent out to with the rentals. That's absolutely right. Use those videos. If you can make the videos yourself, you're better off, because that's going to sell you. And we need to work on, and I say we need to do this, and Chris and the crew's already doing it, but to have ways that we can help you have templates, help you have customization, so the people see you talking about the videos that you're sharing with them. But if you can do the video, and we'll show you how to do a lot of that, it just goes miles to give you the direction and what you want to achieve. Let's see. Use the documentation that came up with semi-renters. Yes, make sure you get everything documented if you're renting devices, or if you're going to take a device into someone's home. Make sure you got documentation that they know how to use it, and so on and so forth, and that you're covered, that they're not going to make off with it or whatever. Let's see. I try to conduit out the body quadrant. I either set the dog on the mat, use the splitter, 5 to 10 minutes on low. Perfect. That's a great sharing story there. I'm looking for questions, actually. I don't understand. What is it? Oh, someone's trying to share to my business page, and we'll get you. Christine will help you do that. Chris is seeing that as we go, and so we'll do everything we can to get you to properly be able to share these types of videos and the snippets and all the videos that we have available for your customers to help you best communicate with folks. Just a marketing thought. Maybe I missed, and you've already done this. Does MagnaWave have custom logo face masks? Just thought, with the virus sticking around for a while, kind of cool to be able to put MagnaWave face. I know that Chris has got a MagnaWave face mask. He showed it to me the other day that I believe his wife made for him. Are we working on anything like that, Chris, to have some personalization? We're not working on it. We are going to work on it. Maybe. Okay. We'll see. He's questioning. That's a great idea, Becky. And, we don't know. I mean, in Kentucky today, we were just informed that as of May the 11th, if we're in public, we should wear a face mask. And, how they're going to enforce that. Of course, they're not going to do, they said, we're not going to do fines, but you may have an officer or a security person come up to you and say, we'd like you to put a face mask on, or you can't go in our store, whatever, without a face mask. So, and I do agree that this is probably going to be around for a while. So that might be a, a little MagnaWave smile. I didn't see Chris give me a thumbs up on the MagnaWave. Never mind. Let's go on here. Great, Becky. Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll look into that. Ashley, thank you for being with us. Let's see here. When I put my business name, it doesn't come. Okay, that people are asking specific questions that we will deal with specifically. Okay. All right. Looks like we've got most of the questions. We have been here for an hour. I had several other questions that I was going to take a look at. But we'll get to them later. We don't want to go too long, but we certainly thank you for being with us today. We've great conversation on the pivot and move forward with your business, or with, if you're a person wanting to get involved just for your health, there's ways to do it. And believe me, MagnaWave wants to help you lead a healthier, happier life and to stay well. So with that, I want to thank you for being with me. We'll be back next week at noon on Tuesday with MagnaWave office hours and other information. So thank you very much. Wave on to better health and happiness, and have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.